Hey, welcome back. I may have mentioned in the past that I bought an etching engraver. It's a Dewalli. It's not an expensive engraver, but I wanted to just try it out, see if I liked it. So I've done some research on it and found out that if you put a mixture of borax and water on whatever wood substrate you're using, in this case it's like a real thin veneer. And I'm not cutting through it, I'm just engraving on top of it. But if you put this on, the engraving seems to be darker and more effective. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to put it on all of these boards. They're about 12 inches by 12 inches, and you can see that this mixture is soaking in very nicely. So it does actually dry and leave some of the crystals of the borax on top. I don't know if that's right or not. If anybody knows a better method, or if I'm doing this wrong, please leave it in the comment. I love to be able to share more knowledge with any of my viewers. Thank you for that. So when I first got this laser engraver by Dewalli, I turned it on and my entire garage was filled with smoke. So you can see in the back right that I hooked up a vent, a fan that sucks the smoke out of the cavity. I also made a box and put it inside of that. I don't always need the box covered. In fact, I didn't leave it covered when I took the video that's coming up next, because I just couldn't film it with the box top in the way. It gets really dusty.
So before you start doing your laser burn, you have to prepare it in a file in Lightburn. Lightburn's what I use. There is other programs, but Lightburn is generally used with most engravers. So I imported some images that I then created into, well, in this case it's a profile of a bear, just an outline of the bear, and you can see trees in the bottom. A lot of these things are free. You can get them on the internet and just import them, do a tracing. I'll show you how I do that later on in this section, but I'm showing you one that I etched, and I imported a profile of a bear and trees and a mountain scene in the back, all silhouettes. And I'm also now putting in text, and it says explore more, just a really simple text. And since I live in the mountains, it's appropriate for maybe not running into a bear, but certainly appropriate for this area. So explore, that's going to be a certain kind of font. You do that at the top right there. Pick a font that you like. I went with something kind of coarse. I think it was chalkboard, something like that. The edges are a little irregular. Yeah, right there. And then I'm going to do a different one that says more. You can resize them by dragging the corners out. So that's what I'm doing here. Lightburn is not a difficult program to learn. There's so many videos online about how to do it. I've referred to several of those. Just do a text, type in rather, Lightburn in YouTube, and tons of videos will come up to help you understand and learn that program. So what I've done is found a bunch of images and traced them and stored them over here in my files to the top right there on the screen. And I just refer to those and pull those in under objects. I had a bunch of things, but I think I put it under architecture, and there's a little image of a cabin there, very rustic, kind of broken down cabin, but I thought it was kind of cute. So I pulled that in, resized that, and I had to group it. So I had to kind of start over, because you can ungroup any of these images and just get bits and pieces, and that kind of messes you up. So I went back to my original pull from the storage over there and resized it, and then dragged it in. I grouped it, and then I knew it was going to be consistent and I wasn't going to be pulling bits and pieces off of this file. So I regrouped it and then placed it where I wanted it. And you can see it has a purple outline and the others have black outlines. You can do fills, you can do lines when you're burning. So there are several options with working with Lightburn. Now, I'm not trying to do a video on Lightburn. Believe me, this is not very articulate, but it just gives you a broad overview of how I created it and for the etching. And it's just to show you another avenue of work that I'm doing. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to a web browser and I'm looking for a mountain scene because for some reason I lost the mountain scenes that I had stored in this program. So I'm just doing a search, mountain vector scene. I'm not the best at searching, but you can see I found stuff. So I'm going to open something up and then I'll just pull it off to the side or do a screen capture, and I'm able to bring that into Lightburn and do a trace. I'll show you how I do that in a minute. And there's one that I really liked. I thought that one right there in the middle, I thought that would be good. So I just did a screen capture on that. Didn't have to be, perfect, because I knew I could trace the image in Lightburn. So I saved it on my desktop, and now I'm dragging it from my desktop into the window of Lightburn and right-clicking and tracing, and there's my trace right there. Again, it's grouped. They come automatically grouped. You can stretch them, pull them, and this becomes like a vector image. A vector image is a line, kind of like a line drawing, but it's not a rasterized or it's not pixelated, so you can really manipulate these files without having any loss of quality. So if you don't understand the difference between vector or line art and rasterized or image art, digital imagery, I believe me, there's so many topics on that. You'll just have to search that out on your own. This is beyond a simple video on using Lightburn. So if you are interested in knowing more of that and you don't and you want to, just do some searching and figure it out on your own. I have a lot of background in photography, as you should know already, but I also have background in working with Adobe Illustrator and other vector-based programs. Based on the settings that you have in Lightburn here, you can look and see what it will burn and what it will look like in the end, whether you pick line or fill, and those are pretty much the only options. So you can fill letters or you can just do lines, and once I found what I really liked, I saved it, and I have a huge file folder on Dropbox where I save my images. So I work on my one computer in my office and then I save it in Dropbox, and from Dropbox I find it on my computer out in my workshop, and that's where I pull it down and print it in my workshop where it's connected to the vent outside and it's not inside my house, so it's nice and clean.
The computer communicates with the laser engraver, and it lets you know how long it's going to take based on the amount of burn, the intensity of the burn. It has two settings, speed and power, and that's how you pick whether or not this is going to be darker or lighter or a line or a fill. And it's kind of a cool process. It didn't really take me that long to figure out, but I just, sometimes I'll have to go over it to make it work better. So here are a couple examples of that particular image I showed you earlier, different ideas and ways that you can burn, and it's just really quite fun. So I really like the way it all turned out.
Here's a quick overview in Lightburn on how I made that last one. Well, I just dragged in that heart. It's a single line, so it's continuous. And then on top of that, I put another layer with text. And you'll see how you can remove some of the light areas from the background, and you end up getting like a reverse image, so it removes part of your file and then leaves the rest of it. All in all, I think it's a really cool, not only a cool program, but a cool process. And I like to explore and try different things, not just do the same thing over and over again. That's, in my opinion, part of the creative process. And as an artist, I'm always looking for new and exciting and challenging things to create. There's so much you can do with Lightburn, and I'm continuing to learn. I'm really on the cusp of my education with Lightburn, so I'm looking forward to more challenging and interesting projects. And finally, here are some other images, the original design and then the end product, how I chose to burn them, and line drawing on the trees, line etching on the house, and then fill on the mountains in the background, and in this case, fill on the words, "Thou mountains are calling." So, there's a lot of options. Hang in there, pray, that is also fill. The crosses are line drawings. So once they were all printed and I had some clearer spaces, I went back with stain and colorized, and I used different stains to add depth and texture. I also used watercolor pencils to fill things in, and that just adds another level of depth. And of course it takes more time to do all of that stuff, but it's just all part of that process, which I love, that learning process and creating process. I'm going to make some more of these, and I'm going to put them on my Etsy link, which will be below in the description. Please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.